Okay, so I put this up here because last time I talked about this tool called Vibe Scaffold. Some of you may remember that. Essentially, it was a website that helped you do spec-driven development, helped you write your specs. So I moved on from that, and I am presenting kind of my iteration on that. The reason I moved on is this felt too disconnected from my development workflow. So I basically moved things into Claude. And what you're going to see is basically a set of prompts / commands, etc., which is how I build most features, at least more complex features and new products. All right, so I'm just going to kind of walk through it. I couldn't do it live because it's too slow. And it's all from this. There's this Git repo here. Actually, I'll show this real quick. So this is kind of just the workflow. You go through, you / product spec, you get your product spec / tech spec, you get your tech spec. There's some context preservation, some checks and stuff. You go through the planning, you go through the execution, and you get your output. So I'm going to show how that looks. So what we're going to build here is, this is me building a calculator. So pretty complex, but it can do more than this, I promise. So you come in, you run /setup. It does some stuff. It says what type of project is it. It's greenfield. Comes through and creates a bunch of skills, creates them for both Codex and Claude. Symlinks them so that you can use them globally on any of your projects. And then it's going to come down here and it's going to say, now you got all your stuff. And it's going to tell you what to do. You're going to run product spec, you're going to run tech spec, you're going to generate the plan. So I'll show you how that looks. I said it's a basic arithmetic calculator. Asks me questions about platform, what operations to support, input style. I accepted the recommendations, and so it ended up writing a spec for me. And then what happens here, this is something cool. I have a skill for this that I really like. Codex reviews it. So it takes in the product spec, reads it, and says, gives some feedback. In this case, all it gave was some minor issues. It just said, it's a little underspecified. There's some input rules undefined, so it made those tweaks, and then it says, okay, you're good to go. So we start building the tech spec, go through that, we got a tech spec, and I'm going to show this. This is what I think is cool. This is another check that happens. It checks every requirement that original product spec has, and it says, did that make it through the tech spec? And sometimes they don't make it, and it checks it and it catches it for me. And then there's a bunch of quality checks as well. Scope creep, ambiguity, things like that, being too subjective with your requirements. And the final thing it's going to do here, down here, is it says run generate plan, which is what happened here. This is automatic. It just takes the product spec and the tech spec and it creates a whole plan for it. And it says, okay, now you're ready. Again, I do the cross model review. Has some issues, goes through and addresses those. Actually, thought I had it. Okay. So this is what the plan looks like: phases, steps, tasks, and it goes through. It has checkboxes for all that, etc., which I think is pretty cool. And let's see if it's roll. Okay. So it actually, unfortunately, clobbered some of the execution. We're going to jump in here. Phase 2 just finished. It talks about all the requirements that were in each task. Tasks are designed so that you could parallelize them. I don't, because it's a problem for another day. And we're going to get down here. You're going to see it tries to check everything for me. So before me doing manual verification, it tries to use Playwright, check off whether or not the verification instructions have been met. 1 minute, all right. I think I'm doing all right. It's also got this manifest, I think is cool, which is tracking everything that's happening here. And I can actually run the global command and say, how are all my projects? What are all their statuses based on this? I'm going to keep on moving because I don't want to get caught up here. I think I'm just going to jump to this, which is some stuff I want to mention, which is one thing reason I like this, because there are sort of competitive tools online to this. The thing I like is it's simple. It's skills, it's a Git repo, you can clone it, you can take some of the skills you want, you can leave the ones you don't. So I love Claude Code, I love the harness. I prefer Codex the model. So I have a number of codecs invocations that you can use that are also skills. I'm almost there, I promise. No, it's cool. Couple of things I just want to mention real quick. This analyze sessions command is really cool. It logs all the sessions you do, and then you can run this and it'll tell you insights about them, things you're doing, things you can improve. Auto verify, which goes and tries to verify all the verification instructions on your behalf using browser automation. And then last, I'll just say I've been using the Codex app a lot, and I can just spin off tasks there. That's kind of an ancillary piece of my workflow. And I have this merge PRs thing for what comes out of that. So if anyone wants it, go ahead and check it out. Any questions?
All right, I have a question. Are there any lessons you learned while building this?
I mean, a lot, I guess. I keep adding things to it that kind of like reflect a lesson. So like something I feel like I have been saying recently is like when something goes wrong, I don't so much look at the code, I look at the harness and I figure out where I could have improved things. And so like there's a number of checks that are built into it that like automate away something. Like something I heard a month ago was people would talk about how vibe coding leads to a lot of security issues. So I did a bunch of research on that. There's a couple security skills baked in here. That doesn't mean it's perfect, but I do think it's probably like a Pareto principle. It's eliminating 75–80% of the security, the obvious stuff.
That's great. And you've got a lot of text to scroll through there. Are there any parts of that that you have reduced significantly in terms of the output, or parts you think you'll reduce because you're not always skipping through it?
I like the verbose output. I don't really. So something else that analyze session things does, it tells me like where I get hung up. Because kind of the goal, part of the goal here is like, it does this by itself, right? Ideal run, it auto verifies every time, just keeps you moving. So I'm hoping I'm not, but I want to be able to look back and like, I actually like seeing, it explain its thoughts when I go back and do that.
That's really interesting. One of the later talks is on reflection, so it seems like you've got something like that as well. So anyone in the room with questions? Yes. Dave.
Is there any memory or using any systems behind it to store all the tasks in?
It's just markdown files. Like I think I was showing that, like it just checks itself off here and commits this file. And then, so you commit that, you can come back anytime. It's also got that phase state thing I was showing that tells you like sort of where you are in the process. So you can come back a week later and like it'll tell you, here I am, I'm on, step 1.2.
No, we had another one back there.
Any more questions?
Yeah, that was there.
Can you expand more on auto verify and why do you trust that? And is it kind of defense in depth, multi-level kind of recursive thing?
Yeah, so basically what it is, it's just the one thing this execution plan does is it writes verification instructions. So let's see if I can try to find one. Okay, actually, acceptance criteria is better. So clicking the digit buttons updates the display with a pressed digit. I could go verify that myself, or I could have Playwright go do that for me. And so I've tried to bake in like some redundancies there because, ideally I'm not going to go click the buttons.
Cool. All
Thanks
right.
everybody.
Yep. Thanks, Ben.